So I was sculpting the folds on this weird alien creature, and I thought it would be really nice if I could do a little tutorial or guide on how best to, or not how best to, but a good rules of thumb on sculpting wrinkles on characters, because it's something that I struggled with for a long time. This is obviously a work in progress, but while I was getting a little bit more into the secondary details, I noticed I kind of liked how these were turning out, so I wanted to show how I did that. Obviously, the very first thing you ever want to do is get reference. We don't naturally have the best idea of how things actually look in real life and how best to bring that out. So it's always good to get reference so you can see how real world skin behaves. One thing that I think people get wrong with wrinkles is they just do lines and they don't understand that it's got some puffiness to it. It's got some fullness. Like these are overlapping folds. They aren't just lines in the skin that are flat. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm gonna scrub through my undo history real quick so you can see the process of how I built this up. It's very gradual, very, very gradual. I wasn't rushing. Quite a bit of layers there. Some of it gets smoothed away, but it's all just adding to the final thing. So yeah, this is not enough. It doesn't look very good. I don't recommend it. Like, is it passable? Even with just doing that, I guess. But there's definitely better ways to do that. So you can begin with the damn standard brush. That's fine. Give yourself some guidelines and follow the flow of the forms. Don't press too hard. We don't want any of that. But just give yourself some reference here. Follow the forms and make sure there's a logical flow to it. It has to make sense. Like this thing, whatever you want to call this creature, its skin is stretching over its weird little face mouth. So I'm trying to emphasize that. Like it's coming down, it's stretching kind of tight over the mouth, and it's sagging down maybe a little bit. The wrinkles are kind of, what's the word? Not coalescing. I don't know the word. Like it's coming from here, it's going in, and they're kind of meeting down here. So I'm kind of giving myself that guideline. And then I can smooth it, and you might be worried that when you're smoothing, you're destroying what you did, and maybe a little, but that's fine because we're just building on top of it. And you can use the regular clay buildup brush for this, that's fine, like that looks great. Just add some weight to those. Follow the forms that you already made for yourself. Follow that flow and just give it some weight. You can do strips like this, which is okay if you know how to keep adding to that. You're going to end up smoothing it out anyway, but another thing you can do is kind of like these short, chunky, hatching sort of lines. It gives a little bit more texture and thickness. Or you can do kind of like a curly, swirly thing there and like fade it out and smooth, a lot of smoothing. If you don't like the square alpha, there's this alpha '06 I like to use that is really nice and soft for this kind of thing. Like, yeah, look at that, that's nice. Some people really like the square alpha. It gives a lot of texture to the sculpt, which is nice. I like it too. Sometimes I don't even notice I have it on, but so yeah, just keep building up like that and adding that weight to the folds. Because as we saw in our reference, they definitely had weight. And then you smooth, and you add, and you smooth, and you add, and that's kind of it, really. One brush that I really like is this pumpkin blubber brush. This isn't going to work in all cases, but it's kind of like a very irregular, bumpy texture with minimal effort. So it's really nice, especially for like creatures like I do primarily, to add that because it gives me some very quick and easy texture that fits the vibe that I'm going for. Kind of following my form, smoothing, a lot of smoothing. I'm not destroying what I'm doing. I'm laying a base for myself to make it better. And then you can sharpen it up a little bit with, maybe you can use damp standard. I also have this Geo Soft, I don't even know what it's called, but it's kind of like a thinner. Like that's damp standard, and this is, you can get a similar effect with this if you change the alpha to something, but whatever, you can change it in there. And you can sharpen these up, make it look nice. You can use some sort of pinch brush. Here's a regular standard pinch brush that comes with ZBrush, and sharpen that. Now, one thing that I don't really like about it so far, and you might be able to tell, is first of all, the symmetry. I do have symmetry turned on. It's not always great to do that. It's boring. But also they're very even. Like, these are very even shaped. They're all almost the same width, which is not very interesting. So you can fix that. One thing I like to do is kind of combine folds, like maybe this one right here, these two. I can like fill in the gaps here and just kind of, and you see I'm adding some more weight to the bottom here. That's because if it's a big fold, the weight, the fat is not going to float. It doesn't defy gravity. It's going to settle at the bottom here and kind of bulge out. So I'm just softly using clay buildup brush and combining those two folds. I mean, I don't really like how it's turning out, but you understand the point I'm trying to get across here. You can break up those shapes. You don't want them to all be the same width. It's not very interesting. So that's not bad. I don't know if I liked what I had before better. I actually kind of, well, hold on. You know what? I kind of like this better. So I meant for this to just be like a very quick and dirty guide, but it's actually turning out better than my original. So maybe I'm even teaching myself here. This is how I do all folds. It works in pretty much every case. So to recap here, you can do lines, make those guides for yourself, and then you give it weight. Weight like this. And then you smooth, and then you add weight, and then you smooth, and then you go back with your damp standard or whatever brush you choose to use for that, and you add some of that definition back. That's pretty much how I make wrinkles. In concept, it is simple. In practice, maybe not so much. I know it took me a while to make decent folds. I still struggle with it sometimes, but I'm getting better. I just can't help myself. Honestly, this is very therapeutic doing the wrinkles. Like, you're just never satisfied, and there's always something you can sharpen and improve, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, at some point you gotta know when to stop, but it's very calming. It's quite repetitive, but very calming. And then I would definitely recommend turning off symmetry at some point. Maybe using, I love the snake hook brush. I keep it at, well, I guess it's at 100 now, but usually I'll keep it at 60. And I use this instead of the move brush. Take away some of that symmetry. It's kind of boring. You know, looks a lot better in my opinion than just something that is just, yeah, makes it a little bit more interesting. I'm going to leave it like that for now. I usually like to save turning off the symmetry for when I'm done. Mostly done, at least. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. And thanks for watching. Bye.